All right. Good morning to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning also to those of you on the West Coast. I am the co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, your host, Brandon Choi. And thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday, the first Saturday, in fact, of 2024. So hopefully you guys had a terrific new year. As you well know, each Saturday we try to give you the goings on in the entertainment industry known as This Week in Review. But have an announcement. We're going to switch it up this go around, starting officially here in 2024. We're going by a new title, ladies and gentlemen. We are going by This Week in Pop Culture. And of course, I'm not going to be alone in talking about the goings on in entertainment. So I like to welcome back Spillman Trueheart, aka Spills. Spillman, what's going on, man?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy, Spills. How's it going? So happy to see you all. I hope you had a wonderful new year. I encouraged you not to drink and drive, so I know all of you took my advice and are here to watch our show and not, in the carceral system or in incapacitated otherwise. But, happy to see you guys. We got a lot of new topics. Excited about the new name. Hopefully it pops for us, and you guys tell your grandmother and all her friends about us.
There you go. There you go. So first and foremost, man, we're gonna talk a little sports, and I know you're gonna be you're gonna feel pretty good about this one because I know we always go back and forth about the Lakers, and people know that I my team are the Warriors. But man, like I have to just ask, and I feel like it's fitting that I put this up here. So bear with me. What is going on with the Warriors? So the Warriors have just had like a very uncharacteristic a year to say the least. Right now, they are on an okay, I suppose you could say a okay record for this year, where I believe they are 2-1. I'll double check that because I did put the notes there, but 2-1 this year. But they've very much been playing like 500 basketball, which is very uncharacteristic of them, and there have just been a lot of instances where games in the past that they would have otherwise won, they aren't winning. And a good example of that, of how uncharacteristic they're playing, is the recent game that they had with the world champion Nuggets, where they gave up a substantial lead to only get the heartbreaking loss by the end. So Spillman, I know we go back and forth on it, but objectively, what are your thoughts on what is driving these struggles of the Golden State Warriors?
Well, I think that this is the perfect time to just say that the heart of the Golden State Warriors, y'all are the Tin Woodsmen right now. Y'all have no heart. You've got a strong body, but no heart. And if you have no heart, you have no soul. So, with the heart, being a crazy person and sitting on the bench and continuously doing more and more antics, the Warriors are no longer the Warriors. Like Mark Jackson might as well be coaching this team again, because I think that people have never really given Steve Kerr the clout and the props that he deserved for seeing the Hall of Fame player and Draymond Green that would emerge after he was a second round player, and people generally sell low on players not drafted in the thoroughbred levels and the lottery levels of the NBA. But Draymond does all the things that makes the Warriors work. He plays defense. He's hard-nosed. He initiates the offense. The offense is not the same when it's Steph bringing up the ball. Even with Chris Paul. Chris Paul's great, but Chris Paul can't do the things that, and also Chris got hurt last night. But Chris can't do the things that Draymond can. Chris cannot guard the best big man on the other team. He can't do that. He can't rebound like Draymond. He can't quarterback the defense. So it's just, I think with Draymond getting older, he was an undersized big to begin with. A lot of people really don't give Draymond his props because they say, oh, he only averages like 8 points a game. But it's more than just the points that Draymond's averages. And it's like a lot of the things that he does are so intangible. And like if you're an amateur eye of basketball, you don't really understand that Draymond is like the guy. He's the guy. He's the reason why the Warriors won 73 games. He's the reason why they lost their finals. If they lost Klay Thompson, like let's say Klay Thompson had an incident where he was doing crazy stuff and hit a high kick on somebody and got kicked out the game, they probably could have still beat the Cavs that year. But without Draymond, it has no go. So to me, I feel sorry that Draymond has lost his mind and would rather choke people and stuff. But it just is what it is. He's had antics this whole time, and maybe the antics are why y'all were good because he was out here frustrating people so much because he was doing antics. But it worked. Everything worked. So Draymond not being there is just the reason y'all suck. And also Draymond not being as good as he used to be. I don't know. They got rid of Jordan Poole, who looks like he's not as good now that he's not there, but I don't know. I think you froze. Can you hear me still? I can't. Okay, yeah. Okay, good.
I have a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, I want to just, and I think we could both agree to this. I know we, joke often here about, our respective teams and everything. But it has very much this season been a twilight version of itself where teams that normally are like right there in the conversation are struggling, thus far in the season. And those teams that you always expect to be, a lot of times expect to be at the bottom of the NBA are actually now, the one, the two, the third best team in the conference. So let me just say that this has been very much a twilight zone version of itself, and I felt, no better way to kind of, give an idea of that is by I'm going to share it here, the standings that we have right now in the NBA. So, in looking at what we have here, let me scroll this down here. We have a couple of teams, with the Eastern
The
Conference.
Eastern Conference is as expected, but when we go out west, it's completely
When we're
upside
talking
down.
about, when we're talking about the Western Conference, like the Timberwolves, and this is no, mind you, this is no slight to the Timberwolves because they do have great young talent, but man, like they have been going above and beyond with how they've been playing this year, and then even with the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't think anyone anticipated that they would be the second best team in the Western Conference. I think folks expected that they would have a better season, with their rookie because now they have a check plan. But I don't think anyone anticipated that they would be the second best team in the entire Western Conference.
For
Of
sure.
course, you have the Nuggets right there, the world champions. Of course, they're going to be right there, in the top three. But the Clippers, with the talent that they have on their team, you would expect that they would be in that top three and not kind of in the middle of the road. And then we have some other teams that are really surprising. Like we were just talking about the Warriors, the Phoenix Suns. Considering even though they are very top heavy, I don't think either of us expected them to be at the very bottom of that playoff hunt with the eight seeds that you had there in the Western Conference, considering who the top three, even if they are top heavy, the top three that they have, and then even with the Lakers too, man. Like
Oh, we
I know
stink. My
we
friend
joke
has been reminding me. He's been
we
reminding me.
a lot, but I don't think we anticipated that the Lakers would be, on the outside looking in, like not even in the top, in the top 10 of the conference, not even in, the playing conversation.
Yep.
So, and it's no, it's probably going to fluctuate back and forth because, just not too long ago, when we putting together, when I was putting together the notes of the show, the Warriors were a game, half a game behind the Lakers. So like,
Right.
it's a constant shuffle that's been happening there, among those seeds that we have between 7 and 10 in the Western Conference. And like I said, a lot of those teams, I feel like we're expected to be in, if not the top half of the Western Conference, at least in that middle ground. And then vice versa, teams that are in the middle ground, we thought that they were going to be at the top of that conference. Now, and speaking of the Warriors, I think you hit the nail right on the head somewhat in talking about how Draymond is very much that Rodman-esque element to the championship aspirations of the Warriors. But I will also say that in speaking of the Warriors, we also have to shine a light on the offensive firepower that they've so often been known as having with the Splash Brothers, whether with Klay Thompson and with Steph Curry. And Klay Thompson this season, has really, right now he is starting to pick up back to his regular form, but he didn't start the season that way. He very much struggled to get into that back into that regular form that we're accustomed to seeing him. So as I mentioned before, I still have hope that they will find their footing, based off of the experience that they had, that they'll still be able to find their footing, by the time the postseason comes around, and we may see kind of like what we saw with the Lakers last year, where, they start making that run, where those pieces start coming together at the right time.
Yep.
So, fingers crossed. I know you're feeling the same way about your Lakers, that they're
Well,
together, they figure it out. So,
I feel a little stronger about my team than you feel about yours, and so that the Lakers are, they're playing up and down and stuff, but it doesn't feel like we're losing because the players we need to be good or we count on being good aren't being good. I feel like we've got a lot of our core pieces aren't playing as well right now. Like Austin Reeves is great, but we don't look to Austin Reeves to be our number one scorer and our like offense go getter. Like he's the guy that gives us 15 or 20 when we need it. Or like Rory or those guys. They haven't had the games that they had last year in the springtime. And also we're kind of sliding into that. This is the sleepy time of year before the All-Star break where they let their hair down and stuff.
yeah.
I think they ratcheted their energy up to get to the in-season tournament because I feel like LeBron was like, I need something that Michael didn't do. I need something Michael didn't do. So, obviously this was the thing Michael didn't do. But, I don't feel like we have the same problems y'all do. Like, that Draymond issue is just, I unfortunately see, like, usually in these kind of situations in sports, a guy like Draymond will leave this team and you won't retire his jersey for 10 years or something, or, it'd be kind of a pariah because of how he's going to leave with all this foolishness and stuff. But he's the guy. And as a true a hooper, I won't even call myself a basketball fan. As a hooper, I see all the things that Draymond does, even though he's like, sometimes he's been cuckoo recently. Y'all go by the way of Draymond. Steph was on a team with y'all where Steph was healthy and Draymond wasn't, and that team was in the lottery, just like the team without Steph. So if they both are not playing, it's just not the same.
Very much feed off each other. But I will say this about your Lakers is two things, and whether you may agree with me or not agree with me, is the consistency in y'all lineup rotation. Seems like y'all still trying to find out, what that rotation is.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, with a lot of the players that have had contracts, have gotten, the new contracts, is that they're not playing, up to the expectations of the contracts that they recently earned. So, and this isn't including, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has actually been playing really well.
AD has been all day. He's been all day. He hasn't been every other day.
giving him a lot of slack and a hard time, in the past. But I'll give props. Like this season, he's been on it. So, but beyond Bron and AD going down that line, yeah, there's some soul searching that needs to be happening. So, um, but in moving on from our talk of NBA, Warriors, and Lakers, respectively, I know it always ends up coming down to the Warriors and Lakers. But I enjoy it. Um, I wanted to also talk about a story that happened in the world of, say, film and TV, and that was surrounding Stephen Yeun. Um, as you will know, for a while now, and it actually had been spoiled by the creator of Invincible, um, Kirkman, that he would be playing Sentry, but it would appear that that is no longer the case. So there were a lot of stories going around with a lot of scoopers about Steven leaving Thunderbolts, but then the official story got out and was dropped by Hollywood Reporter in saying that uh, Yeun is now no longer a part of Thunderbolts. Now, if you're not aware of what Thunderbolts is a film that is going to be very, I guess you can say, if you're trying to put it down in the lamest terms, very Suicide Squad esque.
Yeah, Thunderbolts is the Marvel Suicide Squad. Not as good, not as highly
We'll
sung.
see. But in terms of what Marvel is doing with a lot of villains that we've already seen in the MCU thus far, so it's going to include the likes of Winter Soldier, of what is it? Let me see, Winter Soldier, Black Widow, not the Black Widow that we know, but her younger sister from the Black Widow solo film, Ghost that we had from Ant Man, Guardian, of course, that was also in the uh, solo Black Widow film, and many other faces, including a U.S. agent who we had in Falcon and Winter Soldier. So Ewan was actually tapped to play the character Sentry, who is very much a Superman analog, like an evil Superman analog. You could say if you're putting down the lamest terms. But what are your thoughts, Spillman, of Steven no longer being a part of this film and potentially having someone else hop into this role?
Well, I do know the person that's most upset about this is Steven's accountant, because the check that he's going to be missing from not being in Marvel movies anymore is going to be crazy. Can you imagine that you were working with the Fast and the Furious? He's in Fast and Furious, right? Or is that the
No,
other
he's
guy?
not Fast and Furious.
Oh, I thought he was he's in The Walking Dead. I thought he was in Walking Dead, Fast and Furious, and this.
He's
But
okay.
still,
He's
still.
that Walking Dead bread. He's okay.
He's still nah. I don't know. Walking Dead, AMC money and Disney money is two different levels of money. So I'm sure.
I know a lot of people are gonna say, well, he got, and I'm sorry, this is a spoiler, but I mean this is like 6 years in. He did die on Walking Dead, but I'm talking about like residuals, royalties. Like
Sure.
he's doing okay with the Walking Dead money, and even con appearances. He's doing okay with the Walking Dead money, and he's still.
I don't know if I had to count on my con appearances making me money, I would much rather be doing those con appearances with the Disney title on it than with the Walking Dead. No offense to the Walking Dead or their fans, but we just gonna be real. That's a lot more money than what we talk about. But I just think that maybe they, obviously they've had these writer strikes and stuff. So maybe, and also we do remember after the writer strike, that show Heroes got real terrible because they weren't paying people, or people moved on to better projects because they got more money. So these writers, like we always say, the writers are very important. I bet you any amount of money. He was reading that script. He said, man, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I can't. I cannot be. Y'all want me to say that? I'm not saying that on camera. So I think that because the writer strike happened, they had the actor strike as well. I think it's just one of those unfortunate things. But it's sad to see him go. But it's a project that hasn't materialized, so it's not as bad. It's like it's like you're on the dating site and the girl just ghosts you on the dating site rather than ghost you after the first or second date. That's a little. It hurts a lot less when it was in virtual rather than in person. So, rather than like who are they going to replace T'Challa with, it's like we don't know who T'Challa is, so it doesn't really matter. So since Sentry has not appeared, it's no sweat off my back. But
I mean, there are a lot of pieces to this. I mean, you touched on it just now, in that we, just had the writer strike last year, and that concluding, and how that set back a lot of projects that were happening in Hollywood. Because this film, and I'll just to make confirm this, yeah, like it was slated to arrive in July of this coming year, and now it's been it's obviously going to be pushed back, but they are planning on shooting the film, and so it provides an interesting challenge in that you have this big tentpole project, and it's doing something that Marvel hasn't done. DC, of course, has done twice at this point. But it would be interesting to see what that looks like under like a Marvel lens of what something like that would look like of having that type of team. To see if they're willing to be, some relatively edgy, because I mean, we had the first Suicide Squad film. It was a hard PG-13 film. It was not like a light PG-13 film by any means. And the first one, say the the soft reboot, as we could say, was very much an R-rated film. And when we're talking about a team that's made up of villains, it's not going to be the standard fare that you're going to be accustomed to seeing with your superhero team up. So, like,
and you know what I will say? I will say this, not to interrupt you.
go
I
ahead.
will say this. I'm a bigger Marvel fan than a DC fan, but Marvel doesn't do good R-rated content.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I would
They
say that.
don't do good R-rated content. Like maybe it's good when like you got the Wolverines and stuff, or Wolverine is going crazy, but like even they've had comic books like the Marvel Zombies. That's kind of like it seems cheapened in a way that, and they also don't do that kind of content very well. So to me, to have Thunderbolts be an R-rated movie, like the Thunderbolts, obviously they have to get the Thunderbolts together for Civil War. They've already done the Civil War, but I think it's X-Men versus no. The Civil War started with when the Thunderbolts met up with Nitro, and Nitro took them out in the comic books. But I imagine they're going to use that intro for why the X-Men and the Avengers go against each other. So I imagine that that's something that's coming up. But it is what it is.
Cool. And I will pop over just for a second. I guess with what um what we have going on with this film right now, we still don't know what the rating is going to be. So we can say that we definitely don't know what they may go with. Of course, that could evolve as things go along. We do know that, speaking of R-rated material, that the upcoming Deadpool will be rated R, and it will be the only release that will be coming this year, cinematically, from the House of Marvel. So I'm definitely interested in seeing what's going to happen with Deadpool 3 and how that comes to be, because as you said, like, I haven't really seen them do a lot of
The storylines aren't really R-rated storylines.
what. I mean, there have been, but I could count them offhand. I haven't seen a whole bunch. The only one that comes to mind immediately for me is Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier was a hard PG-13 movie. There was a lot of stuff in there where I was like, wow, they got away with that, and it was still
Yeah.
13. I guess you can arguably say that there was a bit of that, and perhaps what was it? And perhaps in the Black Widow film, in terms of the subject matter, there was
A
a
little bit,
there was some
but
element of that, but for the most part, there isn't a lot of that where Marvel is willing to go there.
right.
So I'm definitely interested, just like you said, of seeing what they do with this film. The litmus test I feel is going to come with Deadpool 3, and that's going to give me an idea of, okay, is Marvel able to kind of do a film of this nature or handle this type
I
of
imagine this Deadpool 3 movie is going to be along the lines of like a Judd Apatow movie with action. I think it's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be the R-rated. I think it's going to be for coarse language more so than for gratuitous violence or overt, because Disney Studios just doesn't do those kind of things. They just don't.
yeah. No,
Yeah, sorry guys, but hold on, team, hold on.
you're all good.
Just,
You're all good.
yeah, yeah.
The
But
next,
yeah,
the
let's
world
move on.
of being a parent. So
Yeah,
it's
this
all
is the world of doing live. This is live. This is live,
live.
ladies and gentlemen.
It's live. It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Have it any other way.
Um,
But no, I definitely agree with you. So we'll see what happens, and we'll keep you guys posted on the recast, the official recast that will happen with this film. Because as I said, it's about to shoot soon, so we'll see who will take over. Take over this role. All right. So um, as you guys saw in the title, we do have a show that is soon upon us that coming, starting this week that I will be hitting, and that is none other than CES. As you well know, CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, in which they give you a lot of previews of what's going to hit the consumer market in various industries, tech wise, whether it's with televisions, cars, phones, appliances that you have, in the home, security, in terms of like home security systems, security for, any other tech that you may have. Um, if you're not aware, it takes place in Las Vegas, of course. This would be let's see, this would be my third time hitting CES. And there are a couple of interviews that have been done already. So, I welcome you if you guys are looking over on our YouTube channel. Well, actually, no, we do have a dual stream across Facebook as well. So, if you look through our video library, you'll be able to find two interviews that we had already, but there are some other awesome things that are on the way. I can definitely tell you that. So, Spillman, I love at some point to, have you tag along, man, and hit Vegas to also check out the show. But, what are your thoughts on the upcoming show, or perhaps are there some things that you're looking forward to that may be in store?
well, the bosses said that I'm no longer allowed in Vegas after that incident that I had in the early aughts. I did hit them for a lick, and I did have to change some of my gambling identities to get away from them. But that's a
Wow,
story for another day. But
wow.
no, I'm really excited for the CES. It seems like a good thing. I'm interested in a lot of the new properties that they've got coming out. I can't think of too many offhand. We're comfortably into this next video game platform generation, so I imagine we'll see some new things concerning that. Um, I don't know too much about, the VR headset thing seems like it's the thing that they're moving towards. So I don't know how much of that is going to be there. That seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Well, I was gonna
Um,
say, I'll help you out with this in that at least last year, there was a lot going on um, with with what they were doing with the metaverse, and there were a lot of tools. I'm assuming that it's probably skipped a great deal in terms of what they have been able to accomplish thus far, or I should say they've taken a leap. I'm sure since last year, where there was a lot of There was actually a headset. I think I've mentioned this to you, but maybe not. But I'll mention it to those of you out there watching is that there was a headset that allowed you to travel without actually physically traveling to a destination. So, like, you could actually walk the temple grounds somewhere or walk the ruins in a given place throughout the world without even stepping outside of your door. And that's simply by just putting on the headset that you had available to you. And like when you put on the headset, it was interesting in terms of the format where it almost had you as like a visitor, a person visiting Earth, like destinations in the Earth. So like when you put on the headset, it actually had you in a spacecraft and you actually had a screen in front of you, like a touch screen in front of you. Mind you, once you put on the headset, where you could select, different destinations, and basically that once you click that destination, it would transport you to that spot in the world. So it was pretty cool. And then I do recall, and this was actually in my first CES, so I'm very interested to see what leaps they've taken thus far. Is that they have what I guess you could call them those laser screens that they have available, where there are a lot of them that are very compact, where it allows you to still have that experience that you would have with a large screen TV, except that you're not dealing with the clunkiness of having the physical TV, the TVs, smart TVs that we know, even though they are thin. The ones that I'm talking about are the ones that you can kind of
Fold out like a piece of paper almost.
yeah, and roll them down almost like what is it? Almost like a
Projection
scroll.
screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like, man, like they had 100-inch ones, like 75-inch ones. They had the ones that you could actually just, not even physically have the TVs, but project them there on the wall. I think there were some other instances of that too, where they were showing what a lot of smart homes, a lot of appliances, in terms of smart homes, are going to look like, where everything is going to be, touchscreen, where there aren't a lot of physical things, physical appliances, but just things that you just have on screen. Like you'll actually have a it's hard to explain, but you would have a projection of certain buttons on your wall, and just by, I guess, how pressurized it is, you can tap on whatever that is to be able to turn on certain things. And it's not
Hmm.
a physical button on the wall. It's just that it recognizes that you're placing, your hand or your finger in that given, area on the wall, and it'll be able to turn on whatever other projected image that is on the wall. So you're not actually physically having a TV or physically having a remote control. So definitely very much interested in seeing, what leaps forward they have going into this year's show. And I will keep you guys a wind of a lot of those things. As I said,
We need you to check out the Vision Pro by Apple. The new Vision Pro, you've seen it. I think that's pretty much what you're talking about. It's a similar thing on the web. They've been talking about it for almost a year now. They had to come out with it. They've been pretty cagey about it, but I'm really interested in that just because, the VR space, it looks great on movies. But when you actually are in your living room and you have to move everything out of your living room, that's unpractical. Like, or if you see like people on the internet that have whole VR rigs in their house, it's like, sir, you need to touch some grass. You need to go outside. It's too far into the future that you have gone, because all the rest of us are still out here touching grass. So I'm interested in the Vision Pro thing because that's one of those goggles. So I imagine that's going to be everybody's doing it because everybody is playing catch up with the Oculus. I've played with the Oculus. The Oculus is crazy. Like I played a game with the Oculus um, where you could only move one step at a time, and you would like have bad guys coming up here, so you had to shoot the bad guys, but then you could move a step forward. So it's very interesting what they are doing with the VR and the augmented reality space. I imagine that you'll probably see more of the heads-up display type things for cars and the like, which to me seems cool, but it just seems like another thing that they put into things that we don't actually need. So we'll see what all this technology is doing. Like, it might work on like $800,000 cars, but if
Right.
you got a Civic, why you need a heads-up display? You're in bumper-to-bumper traffic every day.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so it's interesting to me. Very interesting. Like, we're distracting ourselves more and more every day with more and more just places to get content and put content. It's just like the pandemic really taught me. We're at an overload point. You can only watch so much TV. Like, even
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
12-year-old, I thought all I want to do was watch TV, but that can get sad very fast.
Very much so. Definitely agree with you because I mean we talk about it all the time on here. Of you like, oh, have you seen this? And oh, have you seen this? Like, nah, man. Like, I'm still like trying to catch up on like the middle of this season. That's like a season behind where they actually are. So,
Hmm.
like you said, an embarrassment of content that is out there. I guess the other thing that I'm very much looking to see where the if there have been any leaps in that regard is we were speaking to Marvel just a moment ago, and in thinking of a lot of that tech that we see in like the Iron Man movies, where
Hmm.
he has like the he throws it up on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember them doing that just a couple of years ago, and them saying, "Oh yeah, we're a couple of years out from that." So like now, I'm curious to see like if they'll be able to make an announcement, say, "Hey, we're going to have this ready like in a couple of months, like very soon," because they were showing stuff like that. Like I said, 2 years ago at my first CES. So definitely interested to see what they have in store. That as now with that said, that's going to wrap up our show. Spill, before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you on this first episode of 2024, the first edition of This Week in Pop Culture?
Yeah, so the people in the mafia cannot find me because you guys think you're going to get that money back, but you're never getting the money back from me. But you can
Wow.
find me on Instagram at Truly Spill. Fat Tony and all those guys. I'm looking out for you especially because I've got things that I could do to see y'all. Y'all not going to catch me, but I will catch you. I'm happy we all made it into the new year. I'm excited about this week of pop culture. It seems to just roll off the tongue. Like I said, tell your grandmothers and all her friends at church, so that we can get
Not
more
at church.
likes and views. I mean, that's where grandmas go.
Got you.
You
You funny,
know,
man.
tell everybody. But yeah, happy everybody made it through the year. Welcome to 2024. New year, new podcast.
Yeah, there you guys have it. So again, I am a co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, your host, Brandon Troy. Thanks again to Spillman Trueheart, aka
Peace, peace,
Spills,
peace,
for
peace.
for being on as always. And just be on the lookout as we have a lot of cool things coming up this month. We have a lot of things coming later today, of course, with the last night at Terrace Lanes with the cast and crew that we'll be talking with a little later this afternoon. But of course, next week, or say this coming week, we have CES 2024, of course. And just be on the lookout this month because we want to have a lot of cool things with some anniversaries of some um, upcoming films that we will have the folks behind those said films coming onto the show to discuss it. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon.
Peace, peace, peace. 5 stars. Upvote
Peace.
us, share, and subscribe.